Welcome to Fair with Mr. Nice Guy. I'm your host, MNG, and I got Ju-marri. I'm sorry, I forgot it just that quick.
It's all good. It's all good.
My bad, my bad.
It's all good. Ju-marri.
And that's what I said too. I was like, I got Ju-marri here. I felt
exactly
it,
what you
and
said.
I felt it was wrong, bro. Like I felt it was. Look.
It's all good. It's all love.
Forgive me for messing up somebody's name. Like it's a bad habit of mine. my bad. I got Ju-marri here today, man. We about to have this discussion on fatherhood. He is a brand new father, man, and brand new father. Because I know you contacted me, and I seen some stuff on your page. I seen like a little baby on there, man. Like how far along, man?
So my son and my daughter. My son is 5. And my daughter will be 3 in May.
Yeah.
But as far as like fatherhood, I'm still relatively new. I would say.
Yeah, you in 5 years. That's still brand new, man. That's still,
you know what I'm saying. Like, I ain't really got into nothing yet.
Yeah. So. Well, you listen. You have a son and a daughter, and I can tell you that the dynamic is going to be different.
Oh, it's
different. It's different. So go ahead and get an audience a little bit about you. Just go ahead and kick this off.
Yeah, no worries, man. So like I said, I have a son and a daughter. Outside of being a father, I make music. I've been making music for about 14 years now. I just released an album February 2nd. Okay. And so far, so good. You know what I'm saying? The numbers look good. A lot of positive reception to it and everything. But one thing that I struggle with a lot is trying to balance my desire for a career in music and my obligations as a father. You know what I mean? Okay. Like, I know there are certain times where I really want to go do this show. I really want to go do this studio session, but I know my baby's sick, or I know that, I got the kids this week, or I got the this, or I got the something, whatever. So trying to find that balance between, the two dynamics in and of itself, presents itself as a challenge that I believe that most people don't really appreciate. Let alone understand sometimes.
Okay. And I can understand that, because there is definitely a balance that you have to maintain when it comes to your kids and either their activities or their health. Okay. And that's definitely something that has to be prioritized. I can tell you right now that dealing with my son and some of his activities, when my son was younger, he definitely got sick a lot. So there was definitely going to the doctor's office, taking that time off to go to the doctor's office. And, having a job that I had, fortunately, I was in a position to be in a job where, I didn't get punished too much for taking time off because of my son and some of his health concerns. He wasn't as active as a kid as I was when I was a kid, like scraping your knees, jumping over fences, jumping ramps and stuff. Like, it wasn't anything like
nothing
that.
Crazy.
Yeah, but my son, he did have like in the beginning, like he had like jaundice and stuff. So, that was a real concern as he got older. But I can tell you, like, as he had grew out of it and a few other things he had grown out of, you come to appreciate like just paying attention to the little things that they do and they go through, and you start to like develop a sixth sense of how they are, as kids growing up and everything. So so far as like balancing the balancing act and the music, like sometimes I feel like you find ways to work around that, whether you
definitely got to.
Yeah, whether it's there's times where I had to, like, at one point in time when I had my son, and this was a true balancing act. I was doing Lyft at one point in time, so there were times where I would go out at night and do Lyft, all night long. But it was essential for us because it was money. So I had to balance the idea of, okay, if I'm leaving out the house, I got to make sure that somebody's there to sit them. Somebody's got to be there to watch them while I go do these 12 hours to make sure that, our lives are still, that we still have the same lifestyle we did before I got on child support, or as I got on child support and everything. So it's maintaining that balance. Okay.
Right. No, absolutely.
So and so let me ask you this. So what are some things that, because you're doing that balancing act, and we're talking about, going to the studio to make music, versus no health concerns. What was an alternative that you had went ahead and put in place, to combat those times where you couldn't go to the studio?
So what I've always done, I've tried to be like a preventative care kind of person, right?
Okay.
So it made a lot more sense to me because of the money that I'm making, the amount of things that I have time to do in a day, and needing to be there for my kids. It made a lot more sense, instead of getting up and going to schedule a studio session, bring the studio session to the crib. You know what I mean? Just build a studio in the house.
That's good.
And, what I like to do sometimes, man, is I actually like to try to incorporate me making music, me doing what I need to do for the music. And I try to bring the kids into it and just kind of educate them, just kind of show them like, hey, look, this is what daddy does when he's in here. If you want to be a part of this, you're more than welcome to, but there are some rules that we all got to understand. We got to respect the space. We got to do this. We got to do that. But I try to make sure that, for as easy as it is for me to lock in and just zone out to doing music, I can't have the headphones on all day.
Right.
You know what I mean? I gotta, put one headphone behind my ear so I can listen out, or work without the headphones on at all and just, do what I gotta do. The other thing that I like to do, man, is I always make sure that if I ever need to go out and do anything for the music, I never schedule anything for when I have the kids.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Nothing. Not a show, not a meeting, not a session, nothing.
Okay.
My whole week with the kids is my whole week with the kids. And I don't want to be distracted. I don't want to divert my attention from them, because this is the time that I have with y'all until y'all go back to mommy's house.
Okay. Okay.
So while you're here with me, I'm going to give you my everything. I might do something here or there, something that's really quick to just get out the way. But other than that, no, like my attention, my focus on y'all. And then when y'all leave, and then it is what it is.
Okay. Hey, I commend you for that. I commend you for having making that sacrifice to have that personal time out there is very essential when your kids are growing up. Like right now, they're a sponge, and they're taking in everything that's happening around them. So if you had limited your time to say, okay, well, I'm gonna drop you off over here, and I'm gonna drop you off over here while I go do XYZ this and do XYZ that, they're gonna remember that. And that's the crazy part, because they're gonna remember, well, you really wasn't around when I was younger. We'd come visit you for a week, or we'll be at grandma's house, or we'll be at auntie house, or we'll be at cousin house. We ain't really have that one-on-one time. Now, I do understand that, because there's a time, it wasn't brief. There was a time where I worked 2 jobs, and I was at my second job every weekend. Sometimes I was there after work, and I know how easy it is to get caught up in easy money. Yeah, because you can have a primary job making good money, but then you can have another job making good money and get caught up in that second job so easily, to the point where you don't even need the money no more. You just there. You just there because it's easy money. Like you ain't got to do too much. It's just easy, And I did that for like almost 10 years. I went from being a security guard to being management, and it just became, I was just like, okay, well, I can sit here for 8 hours and literally check a bag. All right.
Yep.
Break up a fight every now and then. Okay. And I was just there. I spent every weekend like that. And I will honestly say that was the worst time spent. It was the worst time spent.
I agree with that sentiment.
And the reason why I say it was the worst time spent is because I spent so much time away from my son outside of the time that we had after school, helping him with his homework, taking him to like whatever little activities he was doing. And then I was at work on the weekends. That time could have been spent with him. And sometimes,
right. Bonding and doing stuff.
Like they did allow me to bring it out to the job or whatever. And I would say that the job actually allowed me a lot more opportunities so far as getting that management experience. And then that experience kind of helped me get into a management experience in my primary job. So it had its benefits, but it still was the worst time spent, because if I would have just did it for 5 years, got the supervisor position, and then stopped, I would have had those essential years with my son, and those are times that I can't get back.
No, I understand you.
So I would tell any father that's out there, if you are working 2 jobs and you don't really have to work 2 jobs,
then
don't do it. Spend that time with your child and groom them and grow them and help them elevate. One of the things I definitely want to tell people is, definitely reach for your dreams. You are the example that you're setting for your child and what they're going to do and what their aspirations are going to be. If they see that you're not reaching, they're not going to reach. There's only so many kids that actually want to reach for their dreams, and their parents have not reached for their dreams at all.
Right.
So, but if every parent reached for their dreams, it's like, be that example, be that pillar, show them something different. Show them that no matter where we come from, you can do it too.
Absolutely.
We have those. So, I know you have some questions for me, so I want to go ahead and jump into these questions that you have for me. So, I know you had sent me a question and asked, what was my experience like when I first became a father?
Right. So, like when the mom of your kid told you, "Hey, I'm pregnant."
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was actually at work at the time. We were dating then. We weren't married or anything. We were both on break, and she had came up, and she had the pregnancy test like in her pocket.
Okay.
And we sat down, we sitting there, we eating, just talking. Hey, babe, how's your day going? How's work? Woo, 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 woo. And and she pulled it out, and she was like, hey, I got something to tell you. Like, I think I'm pregnant. And my initial reaction was, I had a smile on my face. I'm like, no, you playing with me. Stop. But she was like, no, I'm serious. I'm pregnant. She pulled out the pregnancy test and was like, yo, I'm for real. So a little bit about my background is I lost my dad when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
And that carried me through a lot of depression for about 8 years. And and I'm not really the big religious guy when it comes to how I move or how I think about things, but I prayed since then, God, please help me fill this void that's here in my heart, because my dad is no longer here. I don't feel, what is the word? I don't feel unconditional love like I would feel, what I'm saying, from a parent to child kind of bond.
Okay.
So I think what I want at this point in my life is a child to fill that void, so that way I can start trying to heal.
Okay.
And I can start trying to do the right thing by growing and having something there to make me a better me. So my question to you, all that being said, what was your initial reaction when you found out you were going to be a father?
I was in disbelief. And And the reason I was in disbelief is because when she told me we was only dating for like 3 months when she became pregnant. Okay. So, and I'll be honest. I mean, she fed me the story that she couldn't get pregnant. Okay. Due to some things that had happened to her prior to our relationship. It was stated, medically that she had the inability of getting pregnant.
Gotcha.
Okay. So whether it was true or not, let's just say I fell for the okie doke. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she came and she told me she was pregnant. I was like, okay. And then, and another true story before that is, I got a girl pregnant in high school.
Okay.
And she went ahead and got an abortion and didn't tell me about it. So in that instance, I didn't even believe it was mine, to be honest with you, because she went, and I didn't notice that she was getting bigger. I mean, in high school, how much about a pregnancy do you actually know? Like you just
really know.
I mean, we had the sex ed class and everything, but it just really wasn't sinking in. Once the reality kicked in, it was like, you're pregnant, So I had a girl pregnant at 16, but she went ahead and got an abortion.
I got you.
And everything. Now had I did things differently, I probably would have been a little bit more careful at 16.
Yeah.
So when she told me that she was pregnant, I was still kind of feeling that kind of remorse from not being able to have the conversation when I was 16 of whether I wanted to have the child or not. Because we have pro-choice, so it's a woman's choice whether she decides she want to have the baby or not. Now back then, it really wasn't. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was that big of a deal, but it wasn't that big of a conversation. It was kind of like, okay, go get an abortion, and all well ends well. That was the idea. So when it came to my son, I was like, well, let's think about this for a minute. She's like, well, I can just go ahead and get an abortion. I was like, no, don't get an abortion. I don't want you to get an abortion. I want you to keep it. Okay. So that was a conversation. So we continued on with our relationship. And one of the things that I did, I made sure that my son had a house and he had his own room to come home to. Now, absolutely. The first year, like while she was pregnant, we had our ups and downs.
Of course.
And she ended up leaving. Okay. So she ended up leaving. I had got us an apartment and everything. She ended up leaving. And I watched my son being born. Now, I'm going to tell you how ignorant I was. Okay. 21-year-old ignorant boy. All right. Son was born. And I looked at him and I was like, man, that ain't mine.
Look, because I was the same way when my son was born. I'm like, man, ain't no way.
Look, that boy came out so light. I was like, man, that ain't mine, bro.
Hold on, wait a minute.
I'm telling the level of ignorance that I had when my son was born. I was like,
no, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I think that's a universal thing because it didn't really hit me that there's no way that this is not my kid until like the nurse or the doctor was, she handed me the scissors to cut his umbilical cord. And I was holding him.
Yeah.
And now when I first, because I watched both of my kids born, right?
Okay.
When I watched my daughter, I shed a couple tears, but I didn't cry as hard for her being born as I did my son.
Yeah.
So, and the only reason why the day my son was born, literally that whole day we were fighting. And I'm talking arguing about every little thing. She getting into it with my mama. I'm getting into it with her mama. And it's like, somebody's going to get kicked out. And if y'all don't quit tripping, we ain't going to do this today.
Right.
So when he was born, I felt like it was this rush of euphoria that just came over me and just washed away all of the negativity, all of the everything we had been fighting about. And I cried so hard because it was like, damn, man, like none of that little stuff matters anymore because he's here.
Right. Yeah.
None of what I was tripping about, none of what we was talking about, nothing that we was arguing about, none of it matters because now he's here. and we can begin the healing process and the growing process.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I didn't have that. I had an experience.
I mean, it's different for everybody.
It is. I'll tell you, like, when my son was born and I looked at him, I told her straight up, look, I want a pregnancy test. I mean, not a pregnancy. I want a paternity test. And she looked at me.
For sure.
She looked at me and she was like, okay, do whatever you want to do. So I walked out, went and talked to the nurse, and the nurse was like, yeah, it's like $600. I looked at her like she was stupid. I was like, $600 for a paternity
for you to tell me whether or not this.
Yeah, man. I was like, man, I ain't got no $600. They're like, yeah, it's an outside company. I'm like, outside company? I said, man, y'all tripping, bro.
Some shit. Y'all got a lab downstairs.
A lab downstairs, bro. They don't. They're like, we don't do it here. What you mean? Like, you take some blood from him, you take some blood from me, like.
You telling me, bro? I've watched Law and Order for like a year and a half now. You telling me you can't just swab my mouth real quick and swab his? Go downstairs, run that shit, and then come back.
But nope, man. That joke was crazy. So, so after he left the hospital, me and her wasn't together, and she resented me for that. And I didn't really get to see my son the first few months of his life. Okay. You know, there was times where I went to go see him and everything. But I stayed proactive. You know, I stayed in his life. Honestly, becoming a father, I would honestly say saved me, because
absolutely
I was doing, just 100. Like, I was doing some unsavory things that would have landed me in jail. I was doing some unsavory things that would have landed me in jail. And with my son being born, you know, I was proactively out there looking for a better job, a better situation. Prior to him being born, I had flunked out of college.
Okay.
You know, I was even then I was working 2 jobs trying to make something happen. I was still living in my mom's house. You know, his arrival made me like, okay, well, I need to go ahead and get an apartment. I can't live in my mom's house and have my son on the way. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. You go straight into father mode. Like, everything just clicks. Like, I gotta. If I wasn't finna do it before, I gotta do it now. Exactly.
So, putting that stuff in place, and then I was like, man, I need to. The only way I can get a better job is if, you know, the American dream, go get a degree. Okay, so I started, you know, making a situation for myself to go and get my education. And a guy it was funny because I was sitting in the financial aid office at like the 4th college I went to. Like, these, I mean, this is serious, bro. These not jokes. Like, this serious. At my 4th college, and I was telling the guy, you know, what I was going through so far as like, you know, my son and everything. And at this time, I did have custody of my son, and I was in fear that she was going to come back and take him, knowing that I knew that she was living in an unstable situation, so far as housing and work and everything. So I told the guy, he was like, well, you know, courts favor the party that, you know, has a higher education because they'll make more money. And that's what they look for, you know, that kind of financial stability. And I was like, I realized later on that it's not really true.
Nah,
it's not really true.
Not at all.
But when he told me that, you know, it did push me further into going and getting my degree. And it did and the longevity of it, you know, I spent that money, got in debt and everything. The longevity of it is that it did provide me with a higher income to make sure that we were taken care of, because that degree is, I'm not going to say it's as useless as it is, but it did open up doors that I wouldn't have gotten had I not went in that direction at all.
Absolutely. Okay? No, I understand.
So I'm not saying that a degree is good, a degree is bad. I'm not saying that. It's different for everybody. But seeking a higher level of skill set or education, I would definitely say is always going to be essential when you're talking about becoming when you're talking about being a high income earner. Okay,
Right.
it doesn't really matter what the skill set is. I'm not talking about being a carpenter or anything like that. It's just whatever skill set that you can unlock or you have that can create unlimited financial potential. I would say explore it, grow it, and just take it to that level. So that was
Absolutely.
my experience when I became a father. And if I was to go back and change some things, I would definitely change some things. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I would change some things. I would want to see if I would take the same path as I would, or would I end up in jail. My conclusion is I probably would end up in jail. Like,
I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes, man, I sit back and I think, so full disclosure here. So the mom of my kids and I, we didn't work out. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm no saint. I'm not father of the year. I'm not the best partner. I'm not the best, whatever. But I try to be someone who's authentic and someone who has a lot of integrity
Mm-hmm.
with the things that I say and with the things that I do. The relationship between me and the mother of my children deteriorated, half in part to me being a cheater.
Okay.
And that's just me being a man. That's just me being real.
Okay.
I appreciate it. I would attribute the other half to, I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying, but she had objectively a lot of mental blockage.
Okay.
That prevented her from seeing a solution to a problem from anyone else's perspective that wasn't her.
Okay. And
I found issue with that. You want us to be a partnership,
right?
You want us to be a lot like what you know from your mom and dad,
right?
Your mom and dad move in such a way, and they've been married for so long that it's natural to them in how they move.
Okay.
And you're trying to jump ahead without solidifying our foundation in a partnership and just be that.
Okay.
But you're not trying to take into consideration all of the minutia that comes along with it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
My biggest problem with her, for all that I believe, when she was pregnant, the first argument that we had that I should have, like in hindsight, I look back and be like, yeah, this is where it all started. The argument that we had was she asked me, how was I going to support her?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, well, what do you mean by support? Are you talking financial support, physical support, emotional, mental? You have to tell me these things, because as a man, I don't do hints.
Right.
I refuse to do hints. There is a level of communication. There's a standard that I'm not going to lower based on who I'm with or who I'm not.
Exactly.
So if you cannot communicate to me what you're looking for from me, I can't possibly give you what you're looking for.
Right.
Because I don't have a clue as to what you're talking about.
Right.
Now, that being said, we had our son, we had our ups and downs, had our daughter, had our ups and downs. From my perspective, I checked out of the relationship before we had our daughter, but I should have ended it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
But for the sake of the kids and for the sake of, like, this is a situation that's way bigger than me.
Right.
It's not about me. It's not about how I feel. It's not about what I think. These kids are here now, and I've got to move in ways that benefit them.
Right.
So if that means I got to sacrifice the shit that I want to do, the things that I want to go out here and do or whatever, just so that they grow up right, that's what I got to do. But after a while, it became it became too much because now I'm miserable.
Right.
I'm miserable being with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for as much as I want to grow as a person, for much as I want to be there for my kids, I can be there for my kids without you involved.
Facts.
And it's never a dig. It's never me trying to disrespect or downplay or disregard. But 100% I know that, especially now, there's absolutely no redeeming qualities about the relationship that I had with their mom.
Understandable.
There is no going back. It is what it is now. And you know, I would like to have a very cordial relationship with her.
Mm.
I mean, we don't fight, we don't fuss, we don't argue, we don't cuss each other out, we don't disrespect each other in front of the kids. You know what I mean? We don't do that stupid shit. But I also know that you are going to be who you are to me for as long as I know you.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as their father for their benefit, I don't care an iota about you, who you're involved with, what you got going on. As long as it does not bring any kind of detriment to my kids,
right?
Do you?
I agree.
You know what I mean?
A few of the things that you had said that I liked is that you didn't call her your baby mother.
No. See, that's disrespectful.
I can honestly appreciate that because I do the same thing. You know, that's my son's mother. You know, I wouldn't degrade her in any kind of way with that type of terminology because regardless of her being there or, you know, her contribution, you know, I still want to talk about her or give her the particular label that she deserves. Okay.
Right.
Regardless of the case. Okay. She can be a crappy mother and I'm still going to be like, you know what? That's my son's mother. Okay. I don't like the baby mama, baby daddy term or anything like that. Cause it, as you said, it does show some level of disrespect. I like that you took accountability for your actions. You know, that's great. That's amazing. As for the young lady from the situation that I heard, what it sounds like that, and it's just for anybody in a relationship is that we come in with some trauma or we come in with certain type of baggage, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, we come in with some kind of baggage that, and oftentimes is difficult to let go. And, and my co-host has said it best. We were having a conversation. He said that people that don't want to go to therapy aren't ready to deal with their own demons. And it was a powerful statement that he made because, you know, he's happily married, going on, I believe 13 years.
Right on. And congratulations to them, man.
Yes. And when we had the conversation and he told me that, you know, he was basically saying, you know, you have to be concerned about your mental health. And for some reason in the Black community, I don't know if the numbers increased or anything, but we are afraid of going to therapy. You know, we are afraid to go and talk to somebody that can guide us in the right direction that don't know anything about us.
Right.
And I would tell anybody if you're in a relationship and you want to make your relationship work, or if you are a person that's trying to heal from trauma and get away from a lot of the despair and negativity that you may have dealt with in your past, I would definitely say go seek therapy. In any way that you want to, whether because they got different forms now. You can do it by text, you can do it via email or how to or whatever the communication line is that you want to do it. I would definitely say go seek therapy. It's a preventative measure, and you know is reactive measure. So I wouldn't say get to the reactive part and then go ahead and go to therapy. But if you want to be proactive, especially before you get into a relationship, definitely go and do that. You know, it's essential to make sure that your mental health is ready for when you go and be in a relationship. Like, but that sound like a difficult situation that you had to go through. But you know, I'm glad. I'm in hopes that y'all are cordial now. One thing I will say is from my perspective on the things I did with my son mother is, I wasn't concerned about who she was dating. I wasn't too concerned because my son was with me and everything.
Right.
So, I just made sure that, when he came home, he got 10 fingers and 10 toes, no bruises,
Right.
no anything. I have to put trust in her judgment that she's going to do what's right by our child. And she's not going to put my son in a situation where it will be harmful or detrimental to him, without her knowledge. She has knowledge that is happening. That's one thing, but if she don't have knowledge that is happening, that's completely other. That's something completely different.
Right.
Even now, me and my son mother's not cordial. To be honest, like I don't even like talking to her. To be
no, I'm listening. I'm the same. Like so there are several conversations, several arguments that we've had where. So I know that when it comes to holding a conversation with her, I have a very short fuse. I know this. There's no two ways around it, and I don't want it, but it is just how I react.
So let me ask you this:
it's just how I respond. Go ahead.
Are these phone conversations?
Phone, text message, in person, whatever, right? But I'm not so explosive or so against or so anti her that I allow my feelings of resentment or anger or annoyance or whatever to cloud my judgment and get in the way of me listening to what I need to hear as a parent from her. So
when it comes to that, and again, y'all situation is still fresh. Because you got a 5-year-old and you got a 3-year-old, and I've been there, having those conversations with my son mother, and she used to rattle my cage too. Really get up under my skin and everything. So one of the things that I did is, so her thing was that she believed that I would talk down to her. I would talk like real condescending to her. And I was like, well, I don't talk condescending to you or anything. Like, I just talk to you. But since she had that perception of the conversation, I just reeled her down to text messages only. Like, I'm not answering none of your phone calls. Well, she tried to record our phone calls, but in Michigan, you can't record the phone call without the other party knowing. So anytime I get on the phone and she want to record the phone call, I would just hang up. Like, because here's the thing, you're not going to misinterpret what I said. You're not about to cut the audio to, we're not going to do any of that stuff. Like, I'm not even going to play. I'm not even going to play that game. So you can text me and text me only. So we would get into the text messages. And did we have back and forth? Yeah, we had back and forth. But my thing is I need dirt on you so I can use it in court.
Right.
So I'm going to let you say and do whatever you want to do. I'm going to keep calm. I'm not going to try to bait you into any conversation. I'm going to just say simple stuff, and I'm going to let you just fly off the handle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stuff, and I'm going to go and put it in the courtroom. If I need it, this is what's happening over there. This is what I did that for years. I maintain a level of espionage, so to say, to get information. And I knew she was willing to talk to me because she had nobody else to talk to. So I was like, hey, yeah, you can talk to me. What's going on? Anything I can do for you? And then as soon as you get on my nerves or do something out of line, take it straight to the courthouse. Here we go, right here. And that's, honestly, that's like one of my biggest secrets. Like, when dealing with her, I just document everything, keep my notes together, and at the point in time that I need to use it, I turn it on real quick. Because
there you go.
The biggest thing here is I'm trying to protect my son. Okay. Yeah. And I know that, you're in a situation or a part of a situation that is either unhealthy for you or unhealthy for him. So I'm not going to allow you to try to go back down to the courthouse and bring them back because they're going to side with you because you're the mother. That's not what we're going to do. I can't even agree to that on any level. So that's why it's like, okay, well, if that's what you're going to do, all right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that it doesn't ever happen. But she pretty much folded and was like, well, you are the better fit. I'm glad you understand. So we can't just we can't let all that go.
For me, it's more so like we, both of us being as young as we are, having these kids together, whether we like it or not, man, look, we're tied for the rest of our lives.
Yep.
If I can be cordial with you, I'm going to, at the very least, try. I can't guarantee, man, that I'm not gonna, find your comments or find what you're saying completely inane or, unnecessary, and then tell you.
Right.
But at the same time, like I said, what I've had to do is through text message, through phone calls, through meeting up, set the boundaries that I need for me in order to not explode at you, in order for me to not fly off the handle, for me to continue to try to be cordial. I need you to know this is what I'm not okay with, and this is what I'm not going to condone. This is what I'm not going to entertain, and so on and so forth. And if you can't abide by these simple rules that I'm setting forth for how we're going to communicate with each other, then I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to have anything to do with you.
I agree.
I will let the court fight my battles, and I won't have anything to say.
There you go.
Until we get in the courtroom.
There you go.
And as a matter of fact, before we went and finalized our agreement as far as custody, so we have 50-50 custody.
Okay.
Right? So when they're with you, they're with you. When they're with me, they're with me. You don't overstep, I don't overstep. What you can't do, I can't do, and vice versa. I remember before we went and got everything finalized, there was a whole lot of like trying to modify what we're doing, trying to do this, trying to do that. And I'm like, no, we're not doing this. Until we get it in writing, if we talk about it in text, and until we agree, and we can both be on the same page with each other, don't talk to me until we get in this courtroom. Don't say nothing to me. Don't say nothing in passing. Don't call me. Because as far as I'm concerned, where I'm at now mentally, it's not paranoia, but I don't trust you.
I agree.
I don't trust what you're trying to do right now until we get in here where the playing field is level and this magistrate doesn't give a damn about our relationship.
Nope.
This magistrate cares more about the benefit of our kids. So everything that you're trying to do, everything you're trying to say, everything your family's trying to say and do, it's not going to work.
Right.
It's only going to add fuel to the fire, and then it's going to fizzle out once we get in this courtroom and finalize this agreement.
Right.
And for the most part, since the agreement, has been set and finalized, things have they've gotten better. It ain't, we ain't at the point, man, where, somebody's throwing a backyard barbecue and the whole family's invited. You know what I'm saying? We ain't there. But I can now stand to be in the same room with you. I can now stand to be on the phone. I can now stand to be in a conversation with you and effectively communicate where I'm at with what we're talking about.
That's growth.
And we're not talking about anything other than our kids. I don't care what's going on at your house. You don't care what's going on at mine. I don't care what's going on with your car. You don't care what's going on with mine. If it has nothing to do with our son or our daughter, I'm not entertaining it. Don't talk to me. That's none of my business. It's none of my concern. Respectfully.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with anything. So let's keep it right where it's at.
I agree with
And
that.
should we grow as two people, beyond the point of we can handle being interpersonal in each other's lives again,
Mm-hmm.
we gonna keep it right here.
Okay. And see, I like that. You set the boundary, and it's gonna set the standard all day.
Absolutely.
Because I think what some people go wrong at is they start to blend. No, they start to bend on their boundaries. I have boundaries, and I tell you, for my boundaries are like really, really stringent. Like, my son mother didn't know where I worked. She didn't know where I lived. I would tell her where I lived at like the last month before I moved to a new place. like that's the boundaries that I set, because I know that sometimes when you're dealing with another party, especially, the mother of your kids or the father of your kids, there's a level of drama that can come with that by them knowing where you work at, knowing where you live at. One of the things I had to set the boundary with my son's mother is when I bought my house, I had to tell him, like, look, you can't just drop them, just come to my house just out of the blue. Like,
Right.
I don't do that to your house. Don't do that to mine.
Exactly.
I need to know when you're showing up to my house. Okay.
Right.
And I don't care if you did tell my son that you was coming. I don't know that you're coming. So
Exactly.
you need to let, just like, and there was another time where, my son, he has locks. So he comes and asks me, hey, can she come in the house? I'm like, she ain't invited me in her house. Why am I going to invite her in mine? Just because you want to get your hair retwisted, go over there. Well, my sister's sick. Well, that ain't a problem.
That ain't got nothing to do with me.
No, like, I ain't never been invited to her. Hey, you want to come up and and see my place?
Like, yeah.
You
ain't do that. You ain't do that for me.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't even an invite. I would still say no. I don't want to see the inside of your house, but ain't no invite even extended. So the fact that you think you gonna come at my house and you about to twist my son here, no,
and get comfortable,
and get and look around and see all the great stuff. Like, she still don't know. To this day, she don't know where I work at. To this day,
that's the way it need to be.
Because I feel like, and this is just my perspective, I feel like she's a user. And if she found out where I worked at, she would come back and get them and use that as a means to get more money.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I just believe that she's that type of person, where she would use him to get money.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I feel, not necessarily in the same vein, but I feel that same thing about the mother of my kids, because so in the beginning, before we even went to court, I had to set the boundary and reset the amount and the level of communication between not just me and her, but me and her parents and her side of of all of that. And I remember making sure, and I being in contact with the police department at that point. I need y'all to understand that in no way do I want for there to be an altercation between me and her, or me and someone from her family.
Right.
So as it stands now, I want them trespassed. This is your only warning. If y'all show up to where I am, and you're gonna know where I am because that's what the paperwork says. You know what I'm saying? Like, my address is on there, her address is on there.
Right.
So I know y'all know where I live. I know you know where I work because y'all have come up there and seen me.
Right.
I need y'all to understand, the only one that I'm going to deal with, the only one I'm going to entertain, is the one that I had kids with.
Right.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. I don't want to hear from you. I don't care what you think. But I also know that, and ongoing, because me and her father now, so I won't lie, I went nuclear, and I had a lot of pent up rage for her dad, because her dad, just like me, and that's why I'm able to recognize it, has a superiority complex.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thinks he knows everything, thinks he knows everything about you. everything like that. And you don't know nothing about me, man. And you don't care enough to know anything about me.
Right.
All you know is what your daughter has told you about me. And I'm more than convinced that she's painted me out to be a villain because of the things that I've done, because of the way I've said things. And that's fine. If y'all want to paint me out to be a villain, okay. But do me a favor. Make sure that when you go repeat the story, make sure that when you go to tell everybody else about what happened during our encounter, you tell them the whole story.
Yep.
Make sure you don't leave no details out. And make sure you tell them what you did to either provoke or in response to what I did or what I said.
And to be honest,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do agree. To be honest, that's not even happening on my side. You know, I get paid as a villain for taking my son away and all that stuff like that. But then I get paid as a villain to the family, but then I get praised personally for, you know, all the stuff that I've done. Because I've heard stories. You know, my son have come back and told me some stuff. Not that I asked him, but he's come back and told me, he's like, well, you know, there's a conversation.
Kids like to come back and share.
They surely do. They love to share. So the conversation basically went like, oh, well, you know, I gave you to your father or whatever, and it wasn't a give. You didn't give him to me.
You didn't give nobody nothing. What are you talking about?
If there was a give, we wouldn't have a corridor in place. If there was a give. So the idea that you want to paint a picture that, you know, you sanctified and you gave him to me and everything. You didn't give him to me. Like, I took you to court and I took him from you because you were living in a shelter is what I did. You came and purposely picked him up to get into, you know, a women's shelter. And you told me that you were living there. So in the midst of my child support case, I had to address that. You are living in a shelter. He was already in a warm household, and you decided to move and live in a shelter. Like, the mindset behind that is boggling. So I understand where you're coming from, because you're telling you may tell whomever whatever story you want to tell them, but at least tell the truth to your son.
Yeah.
No, tell them the situations that you went through. Tell them the struggles that you had, you know, trying to be a parent.
And then let him make up his own mind.
Let him make up his own mind. But, you know, she resides herself in these lies, and he believes them because she's the absent parent. She believes them. So it makes it difficult for me to sit here and say, well, let me tell you about your past. Let me tell you about the truth. And he doesn't want to hear the truth. He told me, he was like, I don't want to hear the truth because I don't want to see her in any different light than I see her right now. So you want to keep up the camouflage that she's this particular person or this great parent and everything. And to me, it's just more harmful than it is good.
Honestly. Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
when my kids get old enough, I know they're going to ask, Daddy, how come you're not with Mommy?
Yeah.
What happened? Why are y'all not together?
Yeah.
Why are you with, you know, the woman that you're with now? Why didn't y'all work?
Right.
When they ask me, you know, what happened, I'm going to wait. I've made the choice to, you know, and it's probably gonna, you know, it's probably not the wisest thing, but I'm gonna wait until they're 18 or, like, you know, close to being adults. So that way, when I tell you the whole story, there's no gaps that I got to fill in.
There you go.
I'm going to tell you the whole story. And whether you choose to believe or, you know, side over here or do this or do that, that's on you. I'm just giving you the information.
There you go.
If you want to pick Mommy's side and Mommy's the this or that, bro, that's on you.
Yeah, facts.
It's not going to make me love you any less. It's not going to make me any less your father. It's not going to make me feel no type of way. It's not going to hurt my feelings.
Right.
But I know right now, as a child, you're not going to understand any of this.
No.
So I'm not going to waste my breath trying to, you know, paint myself up to be, you know, this grandiose whatever, or try to make her out to be anything that she, whatever. That don't mean nothing to me. My job right now as your dad is to make sure that, God forbid anything happens to me, that you're prepared to continue on.
So let me ask you this question, and you know, from one father to another, and I wish I would have done this when, you know, my son was born. You know, I mean, at the time there wasn't really no access to it or whatnot. It was primarily meant for the wealthy. So what are you doing for their financial future?
What am I doing for their financial future?
Mm-hmm.
So I have like the Gerber Life,
okay,
like college fund thing,
okay,
and then a life insurance policy, and I make sure that my payments and my like everything that I put into those policies are taken out of every check.
okay. You ever thought,
every time I get paid, it just goes straight into there?
You ever thought about opening up a joint how gotta say it, a joint
like
stock portfolio
a CD or savings account?
No, stock portfolio.
You know what, man? I don't understand stocks myself.
Okay.
So that is the only reason why I haven't done that. But I've done, like I said, I've got the life insurance policy, the college fund. My son has his own bank account, savings and checking. I'm waiting for my daughter to get a little bit older so I can teach them financial literacy early. And so that way, hey, look, you're doing your chores. This is what you get for doing this chore. This is what you get for doing this. This is what you get for doing that. So that way you can understand your money before you get to a place in your life where you don't understand nothing and you're spending frivolously.
So you're actually talking to like the right person.
Talk to me. Talk to me. Educate me, please.
That's the reason why I asked that. I mean, that'll be a time for another story. We're gonna definitely communicate and keep in contact after the show. But one of the things that, so way back when, in order to get into the stock market, and I would say this is still just like 10 years ago. Okay. I had financial advisors, and I had met them through a class that I had went through, and I had financial advisors. And one of the things they said is in order for you to get into the stock market, you need $10,000. Okay. And I'm like, $10,000? Like, that's crazy. Like,
yeah, like where am I get $10,000?
Exactly. Like, I ain't got $10,000 to my name right now to go ahead, and that's why I got y'all. Like, y'all supposed to help me, you know, get the finances together. So, then Acorn came around. Then Robinhood came around. So then you started to get all these companies come around that now you can open up an account with $5. You know, you can do fractional investments now. Okay. So when I started to see that happen, I started to get more involved in stock markets. Now, to be honest with you, I learned stock markets in high school, and I fell in love with the stock market. Now it's definitely a little bit more accessible now. It still have its complexities, but it's a little bit more accessible now than it has been over in the like 10, 20 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes, and the reason why I ask that is because one of the things, like my son has a stock portfolio. Okay. And he invests money in there, and then, you know, it builds. But we can definitely have a conversation about stock portfolios, because it's wealth. See, I'll say this. So what you're doing now is great. Okay. It's showing them work ethic. It's showing them discipline, all of that stuff. But when it comes to wealth building, wealth building is way different than living a rich life. Okay. Living a working life. Okay. So when you talk about wealth building is more so about putting your money to work for you than you work for it.
Right.
And that's where investing comes in at. So that's where building a portfolio. So the few little tidbits I could tell you is, if you started a stock portfolio for both your kids, say your kids like playing Say your daughter like playing with Barbie. Okay.
Yeah.
So you say, well, if I'm gonna go here and spend $30, $40, $50 on a Barbie doll, I can go and take $40, $50 and put it into Mattel stock. Okay.
Okay.
So I put it into Mattel stock. So just to give you a brief example of how the stock market works, you have so let's go with Mattel. So say Mattel's share price is $5. Okay, that's for one share, right?
Okay.
And you like, okay, well, I want to buy 3 shares. Okay, so it comes out to like $15, right?
Right.
Okay, so you got 3 shares that's worth $5 a piece. Okay, now the stock market goes up and down; it fluctuates, right? So say Mattel have a bad year, right? Sales are down, everything. Share price drops. Okay, say it drops down to like $4. So now instead of your shares worth $15, they're now worth like $12. Okay.
Yeah.
So then say Mattel bounces back, right? And goes on a run. Okay. So now let's say that Mattel stock soars up to $10 a share. You have now made $15 and you did nothing. Okay. So you bought the shares at $5. Okay.
Right.
You had 3 shares, that's $15. The stock price went up to $10. Now those 3 shares are worth $30, $10 a piece.
Okay. Now I follow you.
You see it? So wherever you buy the stock price at, that's your initial investment. Okay. If the stock price goes down, you lose money. If the stock price goes up, you gain money.
You're
making money, and you didn't have to do anything. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And then you keep investing into that same portfolio over time, or the same stock over time. And if you keep investing in it at different periods of time or every week or whatever, you'll basically come out with an average buy. So if you just buy when it's low, you know, you always go buy when it's low. So, but if you buy when it's low or high, whether it fluctuates or whatever, you'll come out with an average buy price. But over time, your money, as long as the company is doing good, you know, your money is going to grow. Okay. So, so just another quick example, mutual funds. Okay. So you have things that are mutual funds. So you have the stock market, which is a little bit more riskier because you're investing directly in companies. But then you have like mutual funds. Okay. So mutual funds move a little slower. Okay. Their rate of return is really low, but it's safe. Okay. So that means that you could put money in a mutual fund and you could be looking at a 4 to 5% growth, but it'll be over 10 years. Okay. So that's the long game. So you go and you find a mutual fund that you like and you say, okay, well, I want to put money in this mutual fund. I'm going to drop $300 in here and I'm going to put a few more dollars in here. And then over the course of 10 years, you know, it could be well over into like a few $1,000s. But again, mutual funds move a lot slower than if you play in the stock game, because the stock game sometimes that people play is all about buying and selling. Okay. I want to sell it when it's high. Okay, then I want to go and buy another stock that I think is going to take off at a low price and then watch that shoot. But you could also just invest in just everyday products that you buy and just play the long game. And like, okay, well, I know the stock price is at $50. I'm going to keep on investing in there until I get to how many ever shares that I want. And then as it grows, your money will begin to grow too. So that's how you build wealth. Okay, so we're talking about building wealth. That's making your money work for you. Your money can't work for you in a savings account. Your money can't work for you in a checking account because they're only going to give you so much of a percentage on that money and it doesn't do anything for you. Okay. Now you put it in the stock market, and if you play your cards right and you keep reinvesting into that same stock, and over the next 10 years it grows, and say it brings back 7, 8, 9% return on your money, that's more than you would have got every year from just having it sit in a savings account.
That makes sense.
Okay. But we could definitely talk more about it.
But no, absolutely, please. Because I love being So like one thing to know about me is like I don't mind, like as a father, musician, whatever, I don't mind being the least educated in the room.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because that if I want to get better, if I want to, you know, expound or, broaden my horizons, there's always somebody that's going to walk in the room, or there's someone that's already in the room who knows more, does more, and just is better than me.
Right.
And I have no problem if they want to impart their wisdom and their knowledge onto me, because I'm going to sit here like a sponge and soak it up.
And see that,
because obviously you're doing something that is working.
right.
So as far as I'm concerned, I don't know the sauce. I don't know the secret. But if you're willing to give it to me, hell yeah, I'll shut up and listen.
And that's why I'm trying to build this fellowship, of fathers. And we can have these conversations because, again, just like you say, you don't know anything about investing in the stock market. Okay, I've been looking into investing in the stock market for years. Okay, this is the portfolio I have now is not even my first portfolio that I've had. Okay, and going in and be able to know some of the things that I know and be a part of some of the groups that I'm part of when it comes to investment. I know some people that invest and look at stuff and hey, you should go ahead and invest in this stock. Now, to my defense, I'm not in a financial position to put more money into the stock market right now. Okay, so I'm just kind of just sitting back like, okay, well, when I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna get in, and then I'm gonna go hard.
Yeah.
But I mentioned this on my podcast one time on one of the other shows, and basically the conversation is that you can be like, for me, I'm single, but everybody in my group is married. So a lot of my knowledge about marriage is coming from these individuals and how they operate inside of their relationships. So which is knowledge for me for when I get married. Okay.
Exactly.
So the statement is that the reason why I created this podcast is because because there are people out there that's in circles that may not have, that don't have the situation that they're in. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm one of maybe 3 people that I know, 4 people that I know that actually have taken custody of their kid, like full time. But there's people out there that have custody of their kids, or they're trying to be in their kids' lives, but they don't have nobody to talk to or lean on because there's nobody in that same situation as them in their circle. Right. So that's where this podcast comes in, to have that conversation and say, okay, what do you need from this fellowship to help you succeed and be better at what you're trying to do, and making those key connections with everybody. So that's the nature of this podcast. And that's why I'm so excited and happy that you had reached out so we can have this conversation. So now we can talk about wealth building. Say, okay, let's talk about wealth building. Let's see if we can, buy a few stocks, even if you just bought one stock and just put money into that one, because this is, what your kids like. They like Nike, they wear Nikes. Okay, if I'm gonna spend $200 on some Nikes, I should be able to buy $200 worth of Nike shares. Okay.
Right.
And then that just builds well, because they're not even 18 yet. So just imagine if you did that, and by the time they turn 18, they got $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 of wealth in stock, or $200,000 in wealth in stock, depending on how the stock market goes. That is a possibility. Right. You can turn $10,000 into $100,000 in the stock market. And then the great thing about the stock market is that it's also income as well. So some companies pay dividends, and what dividends are is it is what companies pay out for their stocks. So for their shares. So if you have like $10 in shares and $10,010, if you have 10 shares, and whatever the dividend they're gonna pay out, they can end up paying you out $20,000-$30,000 because you have so many shares. Okay. Like that's what I want my retirement to look like. Like, I want to live off of.
I want this stipend every other cycle, and I ain't got to do nothing except sit here and just collect a check.
Exactly my point. Just think about living in retirement. You're getting your pension on 401k. You're getting your Social Security, but you're also getting $50,000 throughout the year. Like you may get a $10,000 check here, a $5,000 check here. At the end, and by the end of the year, you ain't got like $50,000 off of dividends alone.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Now, granted,
absolutely.
Now, granted, you could definitely, pay taxes on it, or you could just reinvest that money back into the company and further grow your wealth. Okay, so then that 50,000 turns to 60,000. That 60,000 turns to 120,000. Down the line. So now you're like, well, I'm getting these dividends, and no, I don't have to go back out and work. I'm good. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm good. Like, I don't have to work or anything. So those are some of the things that I'm trying to get other fathers to do. Like, when your kids are young, get them get them a stock portfolio. It's gonna be so much more beneficial than the life insurance policy. Like, one of the things that we don't have is a whole life policy. With a whole life policy, that's basically money that you can use, for while you're alive. You can borrow against it. This is information that wasn't taught to us in school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
It really wasn't.
It wasn't drilled down to you. So you have that whole life policy. And with that whole life policy, you can borrow against that money for a house, for a car, especially when you're young. I try to get a whole life policy. They're like, well, for you to catch up, it's going to be like $150 a month. I'm like, dog, I didn't have it. But if you started off when they're young and give them whole life policies, it's going to be like $10, $20, $30, a month. That money goes in there. They turn 18, and how much ever money in there, they can borrow against it and go do whatever they want with it. Buy a car.
Exactly.
Go to, you see what I'm saying? But we wasn't taught none of this information about wealth building. This is all wealth building. They don't even advertise whole life policies like that on TV. You don't see them advertise a whole life. They don't want to advertise whole life policies. So it's up to us as a culture, as the provider, to say, you know what, we need to learn how to start building wealth at a young age and get our kids into building wealth. If I knew about whole life policies, I would get my son a whole life policy. So as soon as he turned 18, boom, what you want to do? Want to go to college? Pay for. You want to get you a car? No problem. I can go on and on and on about this, my guy. But I know we kind of went past our 60 minutes and everything, but we're definitely going to keep in contact.
No, it's all good.
This is Farewell, Mr. Nice Guy. Now, I'm your host, MNG. Make sure you go ahead and follow us on all our social medias at Farewell MNG. Ju-marri, thank you for coming on to the show, man. I'm definitely going to keep in contact with you.
Thank you for having me, my brother.
I really appreciate you looking out. Appreciate you reaching out and we having this conversation. I do want to have more conversations with more fathers, so we can all get on the same page and we can build this fellowship. Because I know a guy right now that does music, and I actually was thinking about it. And I want to actually plug you in with him because he's coming on to the show. I think he's coming on the 29th because he's dropping a new song about fatherhood. He's actually having a baby this year. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be cool for y'all two to go ahead and link up. I'm gonna go ahead and plug y'all. I'm gonna get you on my social media page. I'm gonna go ahead and plug y'all together because y'all both do music. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug y'all together. But I ain't gonna hold y'all up, man. Hey, look, I will see y'all on the next recording. Peace.